President Obama's new immigration policy faces growing political opposition this morning. The new directive would allow some young illegal immigrants to stay and work in this country without the threat of deportation. But opponents aren't just protesting the policy itself. They're also questioning how the president enacted the rule. They say they're frustrated because the president is bypassing Congress through an executive order. Republican Congressman Blake Farenthold represents the 27th District of Texas. His state has the second highest estimated illegal immigrant population in the United States. Good morning. Nice to see you. What exactly is your opposition to this policy?
You know, there is a problem that needs to be dealt with, but the president needs to come to Congress. We couldn't even pass the DREAM Act with a Democrat-controlled Congress. Couldn't get the 60 votes in the Senate, and now we're basically doing exactly what the DREAM Act said by executive order. We've got a president. We don't have a king.
So earlier this morning I spoke to Dr. Richard Land, and he's president, as you know, of the Southern Baptist Convention. He says he supports it. He applauds the president for this. This is what he told me earlier. Listen.
The president's action complicates the politics, but it reduces the urgency because it does keep these young people from the fear of being deported. These are young people that are a national resource.
Do you think these are young people that are a national resource, as he does?
Now listen, they're the innocent victims. They were brought across the border as youngsters against their will. In most cases, we've paid to educate them. In some cases, they've served in the military.
Not necessarily against their will, right? They went with their parents.
Well, they had no say in it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I do think it's a problem that needs to be dealt with. But there's a broad immigration problem that needs to be dealt with in public debate. We need to be talking about things like this DREAM Act, but we need to also be talking about E-Verify. We also need to be talking about broad border security. You get all of those together, you've got enough momentum, you might be able to come up with some comprehensive immigration reform. But if you pick them off one at a time and do it not through Congress but through executive order, you're just bypassing the way our founding fathers intended it to work.
But hasn't it been in Congress for a long time, right? 2001 originally introduced into Congress?
Well, there's a reason for that.
And then 2007 and 2010 twice, actually, right?
Right, and it hasn't been able to pass. And the Congress elected by the people, the people's representatives, have said no to this, and the president is saying yes to it against the will of the people.
No, he's saying yes to one provision of it, which focuses on those very young people that just a moment ago Richard Land called young people that are a national resource.
Well, you're also talking about people that came over at 16 years of age. I mean, at that point, you had a say in it, and that looks kind of more like amnesty. But you're looking at, 12 and under people. It certainly looks. I can understand that. We do a lot of casework out of my Brownsville, Texas office for folks with exactly this problem, and it is an issue that needs to be dealt with.
Do you think a 16-year-old whose parents are coming across the border has a say in whether or not they're just going to stay behind in their country? And let their parents
they're certainly in a position to have a conversation with their parents about it.
A 16-year-old is in a position to have a conversation with their parents about coming across the border, you think?
Believe me, my 16-year-old daughter has given me some input on everything that, pretty much everything the family wants to do.
Some people would say, listen, Congress just hasn't done the job that they should have been doing, right? I mean, if you list all the times that they've been looking into the DREAM Act, 2001, as I mentioned, 2010 there was a filibuster, it was killed, introduced again, 2011 when it was reintroduced to the Senate, Republicans who had supported it in the past actually decided not to support it this time around. It sounds like Congress has had a lot of time with this bill, and clearly it's a problem, as you started out saying.
Well, Soledad, one of the things Congress can do is say no. Our decisions are not necessarily always a yes. Sometimes when we look at the overall policy and law and everything associated with it, no is the right answer.
But there's been no policy. You started the segment by telling me that you think there needs to be some kind of reform, right?
There does, and I think it needs to be debated in Congress.
Since 2001, this particular legislation has been in front of Congress, and nothing has been done. It has never gone through, hasn't been tweaked over the last, in spite of many attempts. So someone might say, in spite of lots of efforts by Congress to have the bill in front of them, they actually haven't moved on it.
And again, I think it's the appropriate role of Congress to say now is not the time, or this is not the way we want to do it. I don't think that Congress is unwilling to take it up. We will take it up. The president should have come to us and said, hey, look, this is what I want to do. Here's a proposed bill. Run it through the regular order of things, and we'll either pass it or we won't, based on the merits with public input. That's the way our founding fathers intended it. Congress enacts the laws, the president enforces them. And he doesn't have the right to pick and choose which laws he enforces and which laws he doesn't.
Blake Farenthold is a congressperson from Texas and a member of the Oversight and Government Reform Committee. Nice to see you. Thanks for talking with us this morning. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I bet. Still ahead.